Skyrim Anniversary Edition is out, and I've been testing out some of the new content, and some of it's pretty good. If you're familiar with me, then you most certainly know that the Dunmer are my favourite race, and Morrowind my favourite place. So when first info dropped about this Morrowind-themed DLC, introducing many nostalgic items and also brand new quests involving those still loyal to the Tribunal, it absolutely got my attention. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fudge Muppet. My name is Scott, and today we are going to dive right in and give you a walkthrough of this entire series of quests that take place on Solstheim. This will show you how to get all the new weapons and armor, and additionally, I'll bring in some lore context and a lore summary at the end, so let's go. First, you'll need to be at a place where you can access the island of Solstheim, the Dragonborn DLC, which in the vanilla experience happens after the cultists attack you after you've first spoken to the Greybeards and have been confirmed as Dragonborn. Then you can go to the docks of Windhelm and take a boat to Ravenrock. You should be familiar with this. Once you arrive, to begin the quest Ghosts of the Tribunal, you will want to make your way to the Temple of the Reclamations, head on down to the steps inside, first room on your right, and you will find the Heretic's Dossier, Blacksmith's Confessional. Kenro was a strange one, always skulking about perusing my wares, but never buying. I'd ask him if he wanted a sword, and he'd say, "Not today." So I'd ask him if he'd fancy a set of armor, and again he says, "Not today." Every day for a month, the same song and dance. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever, or so I thought. One day, I open the shop, check my wares, and find a mistake in the shipment. Inside the crate is an odd blue gem, lumped in with the usual iron and steel. Figuring it for a mistake, I was about to send it back when Kenro walks in the store. I give him the usual greeting and ask him if he wants to buy some wares, fully expecting him to say the words, "Not today," but to my surprise, he doesn't. Today he wants to buy. He doesn't want a sword or a shield. He wants the gem. As he hands me the coin, I can get a strange feeling in the pit of my stomach, like this is the last time I'll see him. So I ask him where he's headed. He tells me he's going to see a blacksmith. I'm not sure if that's a joke, seeing as I run the forge. When I ask him which smith, he tells me a dwarven one, in Falbathars. My face goes white. Kenro says, "You look like you've seen a ghost." I say to him, "No, have you?" And he just smiles. So that's that, and now we are travelling to the Dwemer Ruin, Falbathars, to track down this Kenro character. Falbathars is located here on the map, and you will only need to make your way through a few Reeklings and Dwemer machines, nothing too tough. Wind through the ruined paths, avoid the traps, press the button I did to open the gate, curve left and enter the forge. In here you will find Hand Kenro Hlan. Fight him, search his corpse for clues, and you will find a mysterious unenchanted weapon, one of the 4 forge gems we will need, and a note. I live to serve only her, always her. I have found the forge, and when its spark is lit, her fire will burn. The spectre once worked the gears of this swollen machine, but I no longer require his service. The mechanism is simple. With this vial of pyro oil tar, I have all that is required to ignite it. Tar lit the flame once before, and tar will do so again. And when I return triumphant, fire in hand, she will embrace me once more. But I have a problem. The machine requires 4 gems to power it, and I have procured only 1. The others, it seems, are still out there, yet I have no doubt that as her chosen, she will guide me to them. For now, I will return to the temple. The entrance sits above the mine in Ravenrock, perched atop cliffs of basalt. But even if one finds the cave, only the devout know the way inside the temple. I spin the words, and the way opens. Seemingly, this Kenro character was a hand of Almalexia. As you may well know, around 207 years ago, the Nerevarine returned and defeated Dagoth Ur, and as per the events of the Tribunal DLC for Morrowind, Almalexia, who was losing her godly power, went mad and killed Sotha Sil, and also tried to kill the Nerevarine, but failed. It was in this DLC that we were first introduced to the Hands of Almalexia, the most skilled warriors of the Tribunal Temple, in service to Almalexia herself. Their bodies and souls were fortified by her divine magic. So let's keep investigating. So we take the note, and there is also this pyro oil tar, which the note said to apply to the unenchanted weapon, which you can do now, or you can do it later, but apply it to the weapon weapon like you would a poison. But also here, be sure to gather up Kenro's helmet and robes, because we can use this as a disguise. Now let's head to Ashfall's tier and infiltrate the cult. Now, I will tell you ahead of time, you do have multiple options, but none of them limit any of the unique gear that you can access. So, personally, I would make the choice dependent on your role-playing. Here I am playing an old Dunmer obsessed with the glory days of the Tribunal and his homeland, so he will be interested in joining them. But at the moment, you must wear Kenro's robes and helmet to get in without any hostility. Ashfall's tier is really simple to get to. Just follow this path from Raven Rock, enter the cave, and you will find these 3 pillars. A simple puzzle. Change them to align with the Daedric lettering on the end of Kenro's note. Pull the chain and you can open the cave further. Then you will enter the basalt cavern with this epic statue of Almalexia, the divine goddess of the Dunmer people. Until, of course, she was killed and the Nerevarine prophecy proven true. And then disaster hit Morrowind, and the majority of the Tribunal turned to the Ashlanders as keepers of the true ways. The Tribunal Temple was reformed into the Temple of the Reclamations, the anticipations of the living gods, the 3 good Daedra, Azura, Mephala, and Boethia. In the main contemporary faith of reclamations, the gods Almalexia, Sotha Sil, and Vivec were demoted to mere saints. However, this cult has stayed devoted to the Tribunal, to ALMSIVI. You are going to pass through this door and there are 2 ordinators who stand guard. Again, if you played Morrowind, then you will know that these are the holy guards and priest soldiers of the Tribunal Temple. Continue the path until you enter the main chamber. Probably chuck a save right here because you have multiple options. We see multiple characters here which look very fearsome, including 2 hands of Almalexia decked out in their traditional armor. Time to approach the matriarch Drevline. Now, of course, you can pick any of the options that are essentially I've come to kill you, etc., and it turns the whole place hostile, and you can still complete all the quests through the notes you found on corpses and so on. But if we are going to do it by the books of the Tribunal, you can keep pretending to be Kenro, but in that case you need to keep wearing his robes and helm. But if for role-playing reasons you actually want to join, then you are going to pick the option I'm actually not one of your followers, but I'd still like to join your ranks. Then you can try and persuade her, but I couldn't, and so you can pick the option, if I bested your warriors in combat, it would show the goddess favors me. She agrees, so quickly get ready because you're about to face her 4 warriors one by one. First are Hand Kaidron Inobar and Hand Ethra Mavandas. They are the tougher of the 4, both have ebony scimitars and her hand armor, which is a generic set of armor, but theirs in particular have various enchantments. Next is Watchman Sindris and then Vesparth the Toe, who actually wields a unique weapon called the Cleaver of St. Felms. After winning, speak to the matriarch and now you can roam without Kenro's equipment and you are officially a part of this little ALMSIVI cult. Now she hands you the letter masks of the Tribunal. The goddess commands you to recover the artifacts of her fellow god kings. We have received word that the mask of Vivec is being transported from Raven Rock to an unknown ship at the dock. We don't know the destination, only that to ensure secrecy, multiple couriers are being used to hide the identity of the mask bearer. However, our contact at the docks says the courier is a member of the guard who patrols the bulwark, and he has plans of his own for the mask. He arranged a meeting with a buyer after midnight at an unknown location. His greed angers the goddess, dispose of them both, and return the artifact to her rightful hands. In addition, the goddess's temple is in need of new servants, both to restore this temple and to provide valuable services. Speak to Priest Drueth. He will hand you a letter to be delivered to the banished priestess Afia Velothi in Raven Rock. She is a friend to the Tribunal and will translate it so that it can be passed to the common folk. When you meet her, be sure to also inquire about the whereabouts of our apothecary, Curate Melita. She had been in search of the mask of Sotha Sil. Succeed and you will gain access to the goddess's armory. Fail and you will incur her wrath. The law is as the goddess commands. So now you have a bunch of quests going on. Ghosts of the Tribunal is the main one, so let's focus on the 3 subquests: Buyer Beware, Careless Curation, and Her Word Against Theirs. We are going to hit them all at once. Before leaving this place, you'll want to pick up the letter from the priest Drueth, so we can take it to get translated. Extra cool thing here, before you leave, you can also take any of the 4 warriors you fought as followers. You can use this method to acquire the Cleaver of St. Felms from Vesparth the Toe by looking at her inventory. It featured in Morrowind, and in Skyrim it burns the target for 25 points and absorbs 25 points of magicka. There you go, you don't have to kill her to acquire it. So let's head out of here and into the mines at Raven Rock and find Afia Velothi, who we now know is a banished priestess and a friend of the Tribunal who can translate these notes. Also, just keep in mind, unlike the races of man, elves can often live a long time, hundreds of years even, so it's entirely possible that some of these older elves lived before the Tribunal's fall. Ask her about the translation, and you'll need to wait about 2 hours for her work to be done, but while you're there you can also ask about the temple curate, and she will hand you the note, Curate Melita's plea. We'll come back to that, but anyways, wait 2 hours and pick up the letters to pass out. This is what they say. You have lost the temple, but you are not lost. The right place exists in the wrong time. Know that when the great egg Bar Dao cracked open, from its rotten yolk spilled the dissident priests and heretics, full of lies and falsehoods that give shape to Othraloth and his reclamation, but in reality the bile spewed by the lie rock cannot fool a minister of truth for long. The tribunal will rise once more, and the Grand Inquisitors will judge all from the beginning, for entry to our temple is the ending of words. ALMSIVI. Just for a little extra context there, Bar Dao, or also called Lie Rock, was the big floating meteor above Vivec City that, when Vivec disappeared and lost his divinity, it crashed into Vivec City, and it's thought that that is what began the Red Mountain eruption. You can either hand these letters into the Reclamation Priest and get some gold, or instead you can pass them out to the denizens of Raven Rock, and that is what I chose to do. An easy way to do this is to go to the Retching Netch at night where heaps of them are gathered, and pass them out there. Also pass one along to Gelder Sadri so he can show it to his customers. So once that is handled, let's do the other tasks before heading back. We will get to the Curate's plea, but that will take us back to Skyrim, so let's instead handle Buyer Beware. We are instructed to follow this Redoran guard at midnight, who is in the possession of the Mask of Vivec and seeks to sell it off to satisfy his own greed. Now, following or tailing NPCs in Skyrim can be rather painful, so I'll help you out. Go to Old Atius Farm, wait till midnight, and you will see the marker now directs you to the cellar. That's where the guard went. Enter and fight the guard and the buyer. There you have it, the Mask of Vivec. It is unenchanted, like all of the Tribunal masks in this add-on, which I was a little disappointed by. I thought there could be some unique effects on them, but then again, you can now enchant them yourself with what you like instead. You may also not remember Vivec ever having a mask, well, at least you've never seen him wear it, and that's because this mask is Vivec's Ash Mask. Here is a little context about the mask from the book The Pilgrim's Path. In the days of fire, when Dagoth Ur first crept back into Red Mountain and awakened it, Vivec led refugees here as they fled the ash and blight. Weary, they rested here for a while. When Vivec awoke, he found himself and all of his followers encased in casts of grey ash. Frozen like a sleeping statue and unable to free himself or help his people, Vivec was filled with despair. Vivec's tears weakened his ash cast. He tore the ash from his perished followers, breathed life into their lungs, and cured them of the blight. This is Vivec's heroism. His tender heart provides strength when his might fails. The Ash Mask of Vivec is a symbol of his tender heart, a symbol of a god who used his divine powers to ease the suffering of his people. Anyways, we have the Mask of Vivec, we've distributed the letters, time to read the Curate's plea. Priestess Velothi, you or whoever's reading this, I need your help. Well, that's a stupid thing to write. Of course you're reading this, you wouldn't be staring at a piece of paper and not read it, would you? Not unless you're illiterate or mad. Not angry mad, but I clip my toenails with a fork mad. You get what I mean. Point is, I think I've found it. The Mask of Sotha Sil. In Kagrenzel, a dwarven labyrinth with a surprisingly high vowel count. It's high up on the Velothi Mountains, and you're a Velothi too. Funny how that works out. There's just one problem. I caught myself in some contraption, and now I'm not sure where I am. We've decided to make camp here and have one of the mercs I hired find help. He can't write or read or put together a coherent thought, but that's why I'm giving him this letter. Really, I should have just taken the mask and left the orb. You'd think I'd know better than to fall for a trap that obvious, but the orb was glowing and cute and looked kind of lonely. Side note, if you come to rescue me, do not touch the orb. Okay, so we need to go back to Skyrim for this one and find Kagrenzel. Here it is on the map from Windhelm, and this is what it looks like. You may remember this Dwemer ruin for being a fun little unique joyride. We have to go inside, Ignore her advice and touch the orb. The floor will open up, we will plummet down and splash into the water. Fight your way through the Falmer and enter Stony Creek Cave. Jump on down, kill the bandits, and if you look at the bandit chief, you may notice they have Ruin's Edge, a weapon from the Shivering Isles. It's not a part of this Creation Club add-on, but it's still there, so you may as well get it now. Once the bandits are dead, rescue Curate Melita, and she will give you the Mask of Sotha Sil. You can also just kill her and take the mask from her if that's your jam, but it's completely unnecessary. Before you go, there's also this bliss bug in a jar. Enjoy. So you've got the Mask of Sotha Sil, which is the same mask that is seen in the depictions of Sotha Sil on the frescoes in Morrowind, and also what you see cracked on his corpse at the end of the Tribunal DLC for Morrowind, so perhaps it was repaired, or perhaps he had multiple. Regardless, there you have it, the Mask of Sotha Sil. Time to get back to Ashfall's Tier on Solstheim. Now, when you get back to the entrance, you'll realize that the place is under attack by Ash Zombies, and there are more inside. Help the Ordinators out to destroy the Ash Zombie threat. So, Ash Zombies were the lowest minions of Dagoth Ur, the Sharmat, the main enemy of Morrowind's storyline. They were magically created by him, so it's strange that they have returned, since Dagoth Ur was destroyed 207 years ago. I'm sure we'll find out more, but after defeating the attackers, go to the Matriarch, tell her that you have handed out the letters and that you have defeated the Ash creatures. You can then ask her about stopping the Ash Zombie attacks, and you are handed a note. Rumours have long stalked the temple halls of the return of the Sharmat, spreader of Corpus, the corrupter of hearts, the architect of the Akulakan. I speak, of course, of the Blighted One, Dagoth Ur. We know this word has been spread by a traitorous priest who once served her faithfully, the diviner, necromancer, and my former friend, Erdin Relville. It is his creations that accosts her temple, but I know not the source of his power. My fear is the truth may be found in the armory. Before we began building this temple, my predecessor gave me a gift, or rather, a responsibility, a box. The box was to be placed in the armory, but never opened. In fact, his voice stumbled at the mere mention of it, and his hands gripped the edges as if to drop it would shatter the world. As such, I heeded his warning when he begged me to never look inside. To this day, I do not know how to open the rear gate. Yet the restoration of this temple has required many hands, and not all of them hers. It is possible someone has found a way inside. Take the armory key I have given you, and investigate the area. Only with the full power of the Tribunal and our goddess's will can evil be vanquished. So we are instructed to go to the armory, which has an extensive assortment of gear available. Her hand armor, ordinator armor, robes, ebony scimitars, ebony maces, and also 3 unique weapons that featured in Morrowind. The glass claymore, Mage's Bane, the iron mace, the light of day, and the warhammer, Skullcrusher, all quite powerful weapons. The Light of Day in particular is an undead destroyer, so take your time and enjoy combing over the armory, but the important thing here is to read this note. The Matriarch does not speak of what remains locked behind the gate. She says our way is to serve the goddess and the Tribunal. But Erdin was right. The artifact speaks to us. I feel its heartbeat, rattling in my head like a loose rock. Rattle, rattle, rattle. A curious song. Not a heart of blood, but stone. Yet the gate remains, for all intents and purposes, impenetrable. I see no levers or chains, no secret buttons under the display cases. There is nothing here save a few broken pillars and the mannequins. In fact, I grew so wary of their stares I covered their faces with masks. It was not until that moment that the solution came to me. What if the mannequins themselves are the key? 3 faces and 3 masks. A tribunal, but which mask goes on which face? When memory fails, I go to the sculptor's room and pray at the shrine so that I can match blessing to symbol. I feel now I can solve the puzzle, but without the masks it is useless. Erdin hates it when I worry. He tells me to be patient, that masks or not, our master will show us the way. I have no choice but to believe. So we also want to take the Forge gem that is there, and now we have 3 out of the 4. Now, to make it easy for you, what you want to do is place the Mask of Vivec on the right mannequin, and the Mask of Sotha Sil on the left mannequin, and of course, leave the Mask of Almalexia on the middle mannequin for the time being. And then boom, open. The gate in front of the chest releases. Inside the chest, there is some random loot, and a note from Erdin Relville, the man suspected behind the Ash Zombie attacks. I was told that without the masks the gate would not open, but the priests underestimate my master's will. It was Dagoth Ur who opened the gate and beckoned me forward, and when I wear his face I speak his truth, and from his words I spawn the cure that will spread across the world. My temple brother, Artemis, was the first to receive its blessing. His once melancholy face has been carved into the most delightful shape, and his mouth stitched into a comely smile. He must be quite pleased with the changes, as I've heard no complaints. I feel now that he is truly happy. You may have already met him, slain him with her hand. Perhaps you have met all my master's little pets as they descended on her temple. I know this would happen, for there must come a time when the Tribunal's champion will challenge my master as the Nerevarine once did. The Tribunal has 3 heads, and you wear them all, and so by opening the way you are worthy of dying by my master's hand. Come to the graveyard by Tel Mithrin. My master's creatures will dine on you there. So there it is confirmed. Erden, through the supposed will of Dagoth Ur, used his power to transform his temple brother Artemis and other members of the temple into the ash zombies that he was using to attack this temple. Now also in the chest is Hopesfire, the legendary sword of Almalexia, one of 2 twin blades that represented the pinnacle of Dwemer craftsmanship. Hopesfire has a shock damage enchantment, and its twin, Trueflame, has a fire damage enchantment. Way back in the First Era, before the Tribunal, at the formation of the First Council, back when Nords ruled Morrowind and the Dwemer and Keimer teamed up to defeat their Nordic occupiers, these were gifts. At the wedding of Nerevar and Almalexia, the twin blades, Hopesfire and Trueflame, were gifted to the couple. If you're a Morrowind fan, then you probably picked up on the fact that the unenchanted sword from earlier that we picked up is actually Trueflame. But we'll get to that. But back to the quest at hand. It's time to head to the graveyard of Tel Mithrin and face down this Erden Relval. He is surrounded by ash zombies, which seem to have been created by what powers he seemed to have gained from the mask of Dagoth Ur. He seems to be able to in fact hear Dagoth Ur's words, but arguably these may not be the ash zombies of Dagoth Ur we knew in Morrowind, but instead some twisted form made by this delusional necromancer. When you kill him and check his corpse, he has the final forge gem, and the Mask of Dagoth Ur. Again, it's unenchanted like the others, and he also has this unique robe called the Robe of the Lich, offering a sturdy magicka regen enchantment. And this robe could be found in Morrowind in the possession of Gedna Relvel, a powerful sorceress condemned for practicing forbidden magics, and she was actually a lich, and presumably, given the name Erden Relvel, we can assume that his ancestor was the same Gedna Relvel. They both possess the same last name and the same artifact, so I think the implied connection is very clear. But now, the threat against the temple is thwarted, Erden is dead, and we possess all 4 forge gems. Time to return to the forge and place them. The forge activates, make sure the unenchanted weapon has been coated in pyroil tar if you didn't do it beforehand, and then place it in the sword slot. Take it out again, and there you go. Trueflame has been restored. You now have a beautiful pair of blades perfect for a dual-wielding character. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all of the Ghosts of the Tribunal quests. Now, you should have quite a haul. Unique weapons such as Hopesfire, Trueflame, the Cleaver of St. Felms, Mage's Bane, Skullcrusher, the Light of Day, and of course there are many new weapons such as the Ebony Mace and Scimitar. There's also plenty of unique apparel, the masks of Almalexia, Sotha Sil and Vivec, as well as Dagoth Ur. There's Ordinator armor, her hand armor, Redoran Watchman helm, various new generic robes, the robes of the Lich. There is a wealth of new stuff here, most of which can be found in the Armory. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the walkthrough of the Ghosts of the Tribunal. We actually have a new vanilla build for the Anniversary Edition that will utilize a lot of this new equipment and role-playing opportunities, and hopefully it will bring you a fun new experience. Now before we go, there's also additional journals found in the Ashfall's tier that also help further contextualize the story. Let's read the Matriarch's journal found in her room. When I first entered the great chamber, I was there again in the high chapel, nestled in her glow. Great pillars surrounded the stone where the goddess Almalexia once stood, as if it were washed in the fire. Mournhold had shed its skin to reveal a temple of rock and bone. I knew then that this stone was the heart of our goddess, and through faith, love, and sweat, we have slowly restored her flesh. Now that she is almost complete, my thoughts turn to my old friend, Erden Relvel. He was the diviner whose scrying brought us to this holy place. Without him, none of this would have been possible, yet time and toil changed him, to the point I questioned his devotion. Wherever he is, I hope he has regained his love for her. Regardless, our work does not end there. With her hands to guide me, we will rid this world of her dissidence. We will reunite the fires of hope and truth under her banner, and theirs, and let the light of ALMSIVI shine on servants and apostates alike. And clearly we know that Erden did not turn back to Almalexia, but rather embraced Dagoth Ur. Not that that matters now, he's dead. The journal also makes it seem as if these people were alive during the time of the Tribunal's glory before their demise, which, as a Dunmer, is entirely possible. We can also read Priest Drueth's journal, which provides more context. The temple is almost complete, but there is work to be done. So much work and not enough hands. Where once stood an army, now only a dozen of us remain. This would not be the case if the matriarch had delivered justice to the diviner, Erden Relvel, for his blasphemous comments about the corpus. Instead, she offered him exile, which to me was more reward than punishment. Worse yet, he was allowed to sway Artemis and a few others to join him. We cannot afford to let sentimentality affect our decisions. I need to remind her we are at war, and every Dunmer lost is a soldier for the enemy. And of course, he was actually right. Artemis and the priests that left with Erden became his ash zombie minions. But it is clear in the time since Ashfall's founding it has had a rough patch, especially since Erden Relvel became swayed by the words of Dagoth Ur, supposedly. Hopefully now we can restore the Tribunal Temple, profess the faith, and one day the divine gods of the Tribunal will return and relinquish us of this dark phase of Daedra worship. That is, of course, if you are a devout worshipper of ALMSIVI. Perhaps instead you are an Ashlander devout to the Reclamations, and you seek to destroy these heretics worshipping false gods. The choice is yours, but either way, there's a metric ton of cool stuff in this add-on, so have at it and enjoy. My name is Scott from Fudge Muppet. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this helped. Like the video if it did, subscribe for more content, and I'll be back to nerd out with you again next time.